Close your eyes for a second. Now imagine the richest, most connected, most medically advanced moment in all of human history. Now imagine a time defined by loneliness, ecological collapse, and a feeling that the world is spinning out of control. Now open your eyes, because that's exactly where we are. Both of those things are true at the same time. If you ask someone born in 1950, they'll say things are fine. Ask a Gen Z kid, they'll say the world is on fire. Ask an economist, they'll show you a graph of rising GDP. Ask a psychologist, they'll show you a graph of rising depression. They're all looking at the same world, and they're all right. So in this video, we're going to make the full case for both sides. No cherry picking, no easy conclusions. By the end, you'll have a clear picture of exactly why we live in both the greatest and the most terrifying moment our species has ever lived through. Let's start with the most fundamental thing a human being can want: to stay alive. In the 1800s, the average human life expectancy was around 29 years. Not because everyone died at 29, but because so many children died before they could even walk. Today, global life expectancy is over 72 years. We have nearly tripled the time a human being gets to exist on this planet. Smallpox killed over 300 million people in the 20th century alone. We eradicated it. Polio once paralyzed hundreds of thousands of children every year. We've reduced that by 99.9%. The plague, cholera, measles, diseases that wiped out entire civilizations are either gone or under control. This is not a small thing. This is one of the greatest achievements in human history. In 1820, nearly 90% of all humans lived in extreme poverty, unable to meet their most basic needs. Today, that number is below 10%. In the last 25 years alone, over 1 billion people have been lifted out of poverty, mainly in Asia and Africa. This is the fastest reduction in human suffering in history. For most of human history, famine was a constant companion. Today, we produce more than enough food to feed every single person on Earth. The Green Revolution alone saved over 1 billion lives by dramatically increasing crop yields. For the first time ever, obesity is a bigger global health problem than hunger. Think about what you have in your pocket right now. Every book ever written, every scientific discovery, every piece of music ever recorded, medical advice, legal information, financial guidance, all free, all instant. A medieval king couldn't have dreamed of the intellectual resources available to the average person with a smartphone today. In 1900, there was not a single country on Earth with full universal suffrage. Women couldn't vote anywhere. Today, over half the world lives under some form of democratic governance. Slavery, once universal, is now illegal everywhere. LGBT rights, disability rights, women's rights, all have expanded dramatically in the past century. The 20th century had 2 world wars that killed over 100 million people. Since 1945, there has been no direct war between major powers. The chance of a person dying in an interstate war today is lower than at almost any point in recorded history. The peace we enjoy in most of the world is historically extraordinary. Your great-grandfather had to wait weeks for a letter from a relative in another city. Today, you can video call someone on the other side of the planet in seconds, for free. You can build friendships, romances, business partnerships, and intellectual communities with people you've never physically met. The walls between humans have never been thinner. We decoded the human genome. We developed mRNA vaccines in under a year. We have rovers on Mars. We've detected gravitational waves from black holes billions of light years away. The rate at which we're adding to human knowledge is accelerating, and the pace will only increase. In 1800, 1 in 3 children died before their 5th birthday. Today, globally, it's about 1 in 22 and falling. The experience of losing a child, once so common it was almost routine, is becoming rarer with every generation. 10 years ago, solar energy was considered expensive and niche. Today, it's the cheapest source of electricity in history. Wind and solar are now growing faster than any energy source ever has. The energy transition is messy and too slow, but it is happening. In 1820, only 12% of the world's population could read. Today, over 86% can. Literacy is not just about books. It's about economic power, civic participation, and personal freedom. The silent majority of human history, unable to read a contract, a law, or a ballot, is shrinking with every generation. For nearly all of human history, women were legally the property of men. They couldn't own land, vote, hold office, or choose their own marriages. Today, women run countries, lead corporations, win Nobel Prizes. There is still an enormous gap, but the trajectory is undeniable, and the change in just 100 years is staggering. A century ago, being homosexual could get you imprisoned or killed in most of the world. Being from the wrong religion could get you expelled or executed. Being neurodivergent just meant you were labeled mad and hidden away. Today, identity, sexuality, religion, neurodiversity, gender is more freely expressed than at any point in history. We're still far from perfect, but the direction is clear. Where you live, what career to pursue, whom to marry, or whether to marry at all, what to believe, where to travel, what to eat. The menu of choices available to an ordinary person today would have seemed like fantasy to someone born 200 years ago. Personal freedom at the individual level has never been so expansive. So why doesn't it feel like the best time? If all of that is true, and it is, why are antidepressant prescriptions at record highs? Why does doom scrolling feel more natural than optimism? Why does a generation that has never had more material comfort report feeling so hopeless about the future? Because there's another side to this story, and it's just as real. For the first time in Earth's history, one species has altered the chemistry of the entire atmosphere. We've raised global temperatures by over 1.1 degrees Celsius since the Industrial Revolution. That might sound small, but it's already causing floods, droughts, wildfires, and rising seas on a scale that's displacing millions of people. And we're on course for 2 degrees, maybe 3. The window to avoid catastrophe is closing, and we're arguing about whether to roll it up. The 8 richest people on Earth own the same amount of wealth as the bottom half of humanity, 3.8 billion people. Since 2020, the 10 richest men doubled their fortunes, while 99% of the world's population saw their income fall. We have produced more wealth than at any time in history, and we've concentrated it in fewer hands than at any time in history. The US Surgeon General declared loneliness a public health crisis. The UK appointed a minister for loneliness. Studies show that nearly a quarter of adults globally report feeling very lonely, and the numbers are worst among the young. The most connected generation in human history is also the loneliest. Something is very wrong. Depression is now the leading cause of disability worldwide. Anxiety disorders affect over 280 million people. Since 2010, depression and anxiety among teenagers has increased by over 50% in Western countries. Suicide rates remain catastrophically high. We are living in a mental health emergency, and we barely fund it, barely talk about it, and still stigmatize it. Every time you open Instagram, TikTok, or Twitter, you're entering an environment designed by the most sophisticated engineers in the world to keep you there as long as possible. Variable reward, outrage loops, infinite scroll, algorithmic manipulation of your emotional state, these are not accidents. They are features. Your attention is the product, and your sense of reality, community, and self-worth is the collateral damage. The same technology that gives you access to all human knowledge gives you access to all human nonsense. A study by MIT found that false news spreads 6 times faster on Twitter than true news. People believe in cures that kill, conspiracies that divide, and politicians who lie without consequences. Truth is losing the attention war. Every major technological revolution has ultimately created more jobs than it destroyed, but the transition can take decades. AI is different in one critical respect. For the first time, we're automating cognitive labor, not just physical. Lawyers, accountants, writers, analysts, customer service workers, coders, all are already being displaced. The wealth flows to the few who own the machines. In city after city around the world, A generation that did everything right, got educated, got jobs, saved money, cannot afford to buy a home. In London, the average home costs 14 times the average income. In Sydney, it's 13 times. The dream of owning your home, the central promise of middle-class life, has quietly died for millions of young people. For the first time since the 1970s, authoritarian governments now rule more of the world's population than democratic ones. Freedom House reports that democracy has declined globally for 17 consecutive years. Elected leaders are using democratic tools, elections, courts, media, to dismantle democracy from the inside. The experiment that humanity staked its modern progress on is under genuine threat. We are living through the 6th mass extinction event in Earth's history, and the only one caused by a single species. Scientists estimate we're losing species 1,000 times faster than the natural background rate. Insect populations have collapsed by over 75% in some regions in just 30 years. When insects go, the food chains collapse. We're dismantling the life support system of the planet. We defeated bacteria with antibiotics, one of the greatest medical triumphs of the 20th century. Now, bacteria are fighting back. Antibiotic-resistant infections already kill 700,000 people a year. By 2050, on current trends, that number could reach 10 million per year, making it the leading cause of death globally. There are roughly 13,000 nuclear warheads in the world today, each one capable of destroying an entire city. The doomsday clock sits at 85 seconds to midnight, the closest it has ever been. We invented the capacity to end civilization, and we've never actually gotten rid of it. A generation ago, you could get a job, stay in it for 30 years, and retire with a pension. Today, millions of workers are gig economy contractors. No sick pay, no pension, no job security. The power of workers relative to corporations has been shrinking for decades. Even those with good jobs report feeling disengaged, purposeless, and burned out at historic rates. Microplastics have been found in the deepest ocean trenches, in Arctic ice, in the lungs of newborn babies, and now in human blood and brain tissue. We produce over 400 million tons of plastic every year, and less than 10% is ever recycled. We have literally filled the planet, including ourselves, with materials that don't break down for hundreds of years. The people who will live longest on this planet have the least power to shape it. The median age of world leaders is over 60. The decisions made in the next 10 years on climate, AI, inequality, and democracy will define the world for the next 100 years. And those decisions are being made by people who, statistically, will not live to see most of the consequences. Young people today are inheriting debts, crises, and a climate problem they didn't create. So here's where we actually land. Life expectancy is up. Loneliness is up. Extreme poverty is down. Inequality is up. Medical breakthroughs are accelerating. The planet is warming. Democratic freedoms have expanded. Democracy is eroding. These are not contradictions you can resolve by picking a side. They are the actual, unfiltered state of the world. The danger of pure optimism is that it becomes a reason to do nothing. When you believe things will automatically get better, you stop fighting for them. The 20th century progress we inherited didn't happen by itself. It happened because people demanded it, organized for it, and often paid dearly for it. But pure doomerism is equally false and equally paralyzing. If you believe nothing matters and the world is inevitably going to collapse, you also do nothing. The data on human resilience is clear. We have solved problems that once seemed absolutely impossible. The lesson of history is not that things always get better, but that things can get better when people choose to make them. What we actually need is something harder than both optimism and pessimism. We need clear eyes, to see the progress and be grateful for it, and to see the crises and refuse to accept them. The people who changed history weren't the ones who thought everything was fine, or the ones who thought everything was hopeless. They were the ones who said, "This is what we have, this is what we need, and here is what I am going to do about it." That's the only posture that has ever changed anything.